Welcome to a video lecture on understanding data types. The aim of this video is to make the research process easy for BHM students. Conducting our research will require the knowledge of various types of data. So in this video, we will be discussing the concept of data, the classification of data, variables, and types of variable. Variables are also a type of data, and we will be discussing in detail about how data variables are related and how they are different. Now let us look into the details. Now the big question is, what is a data? In this diagram, you can see that different types of data. So data can be geographical, transport, or cultural, natural, or scientific. So these all are data, but in the field of study or in our research, what is counted as a data are only those information which are useful for our study. So the definition of data is that data refers to any useful information for the conduct of the study or research. If I am conducting a research on nature, the information about nature becomes the data for me. If my research is about transportation, the information about transportation becomes the data. Now, the data can be classified broadly into two categories. The first one is based on the type of data, and the second category is based on the measurement levels. Now, let us look at the details of the types of data. Now, before we proceed with the types of data, it is important to understand the concept called as variable. Variable, as the name suggests, is an information or a data which will vary over period of time. If a data changes its value over a period of time, it is a variable. For example, if you are checking your weight over a period of 1 year, and every month you are going to check your weight whether it is gaining or losing. Now the variable called as weight keeps changing according to the time. So the information about your weight is a variable. Now let us look at an example of a research study and which are the possible variables in that study. Let us assume that we are doing a research to find out the sale of cake from a cake store which is operational at Pala. So the research title may be framed like this. Now there are different variables applicable here. The sale of cake, the sale is a variable. Various types of cake is a variable. The people who will come to buy the cake or our customer is going to be variable. The demand of the cake for a period of time, that is going to change. And of course the cost of raw material, the type of raw materials that is used for production of a particular cake. Like this we can find various variables within this particular study. Now let us see how the data can be classified according to the type of data. The data can be categorical in nature. For example, there are different types of cake that will be sold. For example, there is sponge cake, there is pound cake, then there is icing cake, then there are pastry cakes. These are all different category. And when we are getting the information and we can classify them into categories, Such type of data is called as categorical data. The next type of data is numerical data or number data. The data which can be expressed in numbers directly is called as numerical data. For example, we can count the number of category of a particular type of cake. For example, we can count the number of sponge cakes that are available, or we can count the number of categories of cake that are available in the shop. So such numbered data is called as numerical data. There are two types of numerical data according to character. So the first one is discrete numerical data as well as continuous numerical data. Now these data are variable in nature. The numbers can vary from time to time. Hence, this may be also called as a discrete variable as well as continuous variable. Now let us understand the difference between discrete variable and continuous variable. Now we have seen that the data can be divided into two types, that is categorical and numerical. Now let us look at the difference between the two types of numerical data. First we will see what is a continuous data or continuous variable. The continuous variables can be expressed in fractions and it can assume any numerical value in a particular range, which makes it infinite. Infinite means you cannot count the entire set. There are unlimited values that a continuous variable can assume. For example, the weight of the cake. The weight of the cake can be any fraction. It can be 1.5 kg or it can be any weight in between 1 kg and 1.5 kg. It can be 1.15, 1.55, 1.57, like that. It can take an unlimited number of values within the range. Such variables are called as continuous variable. The exact opposite of continuous variable is discrete variable. Discrete variables cannot be expressed in fraction. For example, the number of customers visiting the store in a day is always a discrete variable because there is no chance that 1.5 person can come and visit the store. Either one person comes or 2 person comes. It cannot be expressed in fractions. So that is the difference between continuous variable and discrete variable. The next important classification of data is according to the measurement levels. Now let us see how the measurement levels are categorized. Here the data can be a qualitative data or it can be a quantitative data. When you say qualitative data, we are talking about information which describes the quality of a particular unit. For example, intelligence is a quality. The taste of the cake is a quality. The texture of a cake is a quality. Now, the problem with qualitative data is that we cannot directly measure these values. How will you evaluate the taste of a cake? Can we say that the taste of a cake is 1 kg? It doesn't make any sense. So qualitative data cannot be directly expressed in numbers, but we can use a scale on to measure or evaluate what is the taste of the cake or the satisfaction level of the customer having the cake. It is not directly measurable, but we can convert that satisfaction to a number by assigning a scale. So we can ask the customer, on a scale of 5, how much is your satisfaction level for while you tasted this cake. So in that case, if he says 5, that means he liked it very much. And if he said 0, that means he hated it. So qualitative data cannot be directly expressed in numbers. Whereas the quantitative data, as the name suggests, it's about quantity. These are data which can be directly measured in numbers. For example, the weight of the cake, the number of units which is sold, all these are quantitative data. The next important concept is the types of variable. The first type of variable is independent variable. It is also called as a treatment variable. The second type of variable is the dependent variable or response variable. The third type of variable is extraneous variable. As the name suggests, it is an outside variable, which means the variable is outside the field of study, but it is affecting the dependent variable. And then we have the control variable. Control variable, as the name suggests, is for controlling purpose. The control variable is created or established so that the effect of extraneous variables are minimized or nullified. Now, what does all this mean? Independent variable is also called as treatment variable because this variable is the main factor that we will change or manipulate to find out what is the result. For example, if you are trying to create a new cake with a new type of icing, here the independent variable is the ingredients which are used for making of the cake. We can modify the ingredients in a particular fashion to find out how it is affecting the overall quality of the cake. So that's why independent variable is also called as treatment variable. Now the dependent variable are response variable, which means that when we change the independent variable, as a response to that, if a variable changes, then that becomes response variable. So here, when we are changing the recipe of the icing, the result is that the quality, the taste, the texture, the appearance, all these are dependent variables which are changing. Next important concept is the extraneous variable. Outside influences that affect the dependent variable or response variable. Now, talking about the icing will be affected by the atmosphere, the overall temperature, humidity, all these are going to affect the quality of icing. Now, we have changed the recipe of icing and we have seen a particular difference in the overall quality for the cake, which may be desirable, but because of the climatic condition, the temperature and humidity, the icing can become affected. So these factors are called as extraneous variable. Now we can control that by incorporating a control variable in this situation. For example, if you can create a air conditioned chamber wherein the temperature and humidity is regulated, then we will be able to eliminate the effect of the extraneous variable called as temperature and humidity. So I hope all of you understood the concept of independent variable, dependent variable, extraneous variable, and control variable. To conduct a good research, to plan a good research, you should understand which are your independent variable, which are your dependent variable, and what are the extraneous variable, and what are you doing to minimize the effect of extraneous variable, which is called as the control variable. Depending upon the type of study or what we are trying to study, all these variables are going to change. For example, here we have spoken about the icing, but if you are going to study about the sale of this particular cake with a particular icing, the dependent variable, extraneous variable, and control variable, everything is going to change accordingly. Great. I hope all of you have understood the concept. Well, now it is time to summarize the concepts that we have discussed in this lecture. The first concept is data. So data is an information which is relevant to our study. The data can be classified as categorical data as well as numerical data. Categorical data means the data is divided into categories, whereas numerical data means the data can be expressed in numbers. The next important concept that we have learned is variable. Variables are data that can assume different value at different times. And there are different types of variable such as independent variable, dependent variable, control variable, and extraneous variable. Apart from these types, the variable can be broadly classified as discrete variable and continuous variable according to its nature. Understanding the types of variable is a foundation stone for creating a very good plan of research. I hope all of you have got the concept of variables and data clear through this video. Thank you very much for your time and stay tuned for more.